Good morning, everybody. So, you want to know how you've been programmed? Might as well know how the world works, because if you don't know how the world works, you'll just keep reacting to all of your programming and die with your programming. And remember, the whole J world is about redirecting the programming that was given to you. And I don't care how much you think your programming is organic and that it was God-given or whatever. Okay, fine. But it's time to understand how programming works, because if you're going to redirect and potentially save your own life, you got to know what it is you're dealing with. So what sparked this whole understanding programming and energy and trauma was when I posted that Facebook reel of that little girl that was just clearly having a temper tantrum in the classroom. And she was throwing all the toys and all of the just everything that was in the classroom, the books, the toys, the bins, just emptying them, throwing them everywhere, crying. Okay. And then I've also seen Facebook reels where even a teenager, not like a 6-year-old throwing a temper tantrum, but even teenagers assaulting or wanting to hurt the teachers or students in a classroom. Okay. And so I was just like, you couldn't pay me enough to be a nanny in this world or be a teacher for anyone young or small. Because you have a lot of traumatized kids that have not had any place to channel their energy into something constructive. And so what prompted that was then the two comments. One was from Nicole and the other one was from Pauline. And Nicole happened to mention the race of the child, which is fine. I mean, whatever. And Pauline was like, well, it's not about race. There are a lot of kids, Black, white, Asian, Mexican, that have been traumatized. And, but if you mention an ethnicity and you're recounting something of your own memory that's the same ethnicity, it's not a big deal. But yes, it is to be assumed, of course, that it's not just one culture that acts out. When you have kids who don't have parents know how to channel their energy in a specific direction, and they're traumatized, and the parents have been taught corporal punishment to keep their kids in line, what do you think is going to happen with these kids when they have so much energy? There's so much trauma that needs to be released and it's not being channeled. That's the thing that people have to understand, is that. And so then after that, I'm like, holy shit, there's epiphany. Because I remember when I was a kid, my mom would take me to gymnastics. I would do gymnastics over there at West Valley College. She'd take me to gymnastics. Well, I wasn't really, I did the splits and everything. I could do all the gymnastics, not all of it. But I wasn't focused enough. That wasn't my forte. So then she took my sister into ballet. My sister did ballet. I did soccer, which was a great place for me to channel my energy. But I did soccer. And then she also took me to like a girl, like during, I guess it was summer. And it was like where you put makeup on and stuff. You learn how to put makeup on and you look at your eyes and see what kind of, eyeliner and eyeshadow. So like a girl class to be a girl, learn how to be a girl. I remember that. Shit, these memories are coming back really, really, really awesome. And so she was learning, my mother was actually taking me to different things in Saratoga to channel my energy. She also took us to the library. She also took us to the library. And so we were always reading stuff. And so with the corporal punishment and behavior modification practices that weren't so excessive, where you turn into a Charles Manson, though you could be like on the brink. And I could see where someone could be on the brink of doing something. I'll tell you, the human programming is crazy. But corporal punishment coupled with places to channel your energy, reading, writing, painting. I did a lot of painting. I wrote a lot, but not really. I wasn't really a writer even back then. I was more of like a speaker. So I'd be yelling at everybody. And of course, politics, religion, and science. What's going on in the West Coast? There's all these politics around abortion or, affirmative action or women's rights, feminism. And so now you're seeing the shaping of humanity is by giving them a place where they're being traumatized, energy is being brought up, and how do you channel that energy? And then that's on a community level. But then you go on an individual level, then you get your politics, you get your religions, your science dogmas, then you get even people that don't have parents that know how to channel the energy to their kids. So then the kids they're programmed by the system. Okay, they're getting circumcisions, so they're hypersexual on some level, and then there's the images, the porn industry, and then people who are acting out their stuff at a young age, and then there's people who groom other people to do stuff. And a lot of these, guys and girls are getting groomed at a young age. And then you see the outcome. Look at Hollywood. That's all the program. That's all MK Ultra program on some level. That's Hollywood. But you don't always, now you see Hollywood, but some people are like, oh, Hollywood's all full of reptilians. So they dissociate themselves that people in Hollywood are human. They look at them as gods, worshiping them. But they don't realize that even their own society has been programmed the same way through trauma-based programming. And religion is a huge trauma-based programming. Politics, trauma-based programming. Because of the fear of scarcity. The fear of somebody doing this to you. The fear of somebody doing that to you. Fear is a trauma-based programming. That's the conspiracy world. If you don't understand science and chemistry, you'll be afraid of derailments. You'll be afraid of the air, food, water. If you think that the changes of our society, where you're not going to allow it to be out there so much that they're closing out all the brick and mortar, not so much freedom, you'll be afraid of being, under lockdown on some level. Okay? And so when you think about what is the system developing? And this is where I want you all to look at yourselves, because I see it. I see it all over. It's freaking insane when you finally look at what the system has developed through trauma-based programming. So you have, number one, pretty cute, fragile children must be in a bubble. So they're mostly like either in Silicon Valley or the upper middle class, or they're behind the gated communities, or they're in the Upper East Side in New York, going to their private schools, circulating only within a very, specific type of circle of people. But even then, there's predators even in those circles. So nobody's really safe. But when you're pretty and you're cute and you have some money, you have to be in a specific bubble. However, nowadays you can't be you can't be sequestered like that, because it's maybe that you don't get the riffraff energy from the other side of the tracks coming into your world, but now you're getting the frequency changes. And so the cute, pretty, fragile kids, girls and boys, when they can't handle a frequency change in their environment, you think they'll be able to handle the symptoms? No. Because before all this climate change happened, things were relatively calm. But now that the climate change is happening, things were relatively calm, but parents still had the issues, but they dealt with their issues with the drugs and all the surgeries and whatever. But now in a higher climate change, and the particles are accelerating even more so, now these kids have to figure out how to deal with the climate change. And, and we're seeing how that's working out. And so what's the system developing? Hard fighting children who are physically tough, but not mentally tough. Picking fights with people, bullies in our society, antibodies. Okay, I remember going going into 8th grade camp, and it was over there in Palo Alto. Okay, it's where my dad used to work. And so we go to this camp, and the people that went to the camp, a lot of them were from Daly City, or they were from San Mateo. And there were a lot of Chicano gangs. That's how I got introduced to the Chicano Mexican culture. I remember now was from that summer camp, where we go into San Francisco and go into, into different places or watch movies or do this. And it was just a place where it was like a daycare for the summer. My dad would pick us up. He would drop us off. My mom would have the summer off. She'd do whatever she wants. And then he would drop us off there in the morning. And we do whatever we do. And there was Chicano. And so I think I got my ass kicked one time because I was speaking out, and she swung me around by my hair. And I was like, holy shit. But that's when I first got introduced to the trauma of the gang culture. over there in Palo Alto. There was like East Palo Alto, but the kids that again went to these summer camps were from the whole peninsula. San Bruno, San Mateo, Daly City, all of that. Okay? And so she was bred, that girl, her name was Shauna. Won't say her last name, but her name was Shauna. I remember her name. See, these are some weird, this is crazy shit. I remember her name, and I remember that the guys in that place, they were all like rappers. And there's rappers or rockers. And that was the split. And then another girl named Trish. Now I remember. And they were little bullies. They were little gang members. They did the whole hair bear stuff. And so me from Saratoga, and I'm going into 8th grade and never been exposed to this. Now I remember. That was my first introduction to, holy shit, the world is not as safe as it claims to be. Because we've had people programmed to be tough little bitches and tough little men that want to go and kick everyone's ass. That if you talk smack, I'm going to go and kick your ass. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then all the head bobbing shit, right? Oh, gosh. But mentally, she was not tough, but she was physically tough. And she picked fight with someone that if somebody talked out of line, I'll tell you, that's the queen bee mentality. That's when I first discovered who the bullies are in our society. And they have been traumatized by their own parents who went through the same shit. Okay? So there's that programming of where parents are hitting their kids because they don't know what else to do, toughen them up, but they turn them into people who bully. And they also turn them into potentially serial killers. And that's pretty crazy. Holy crap, that's another memory unlocked. But I never told my parents that's what happened. I may have said it one time. Mom was like, what? Okay. Nothing happened at the camp. So I didn't say anything to anybody. What are you going to say? But I remember standing next to that girl on the bleachers, and I was so mad. And I thought about pushing her down the bleachers, but I never did. But I thought about it. But I never did. I could have. But I know she'd come back. She'd fall down. She'd come back and she'd kick my ass even more. So I'm just like, so that's the thing. That's the thing that we have bred that type of mentality in our kids. The violence. Okay? So what is the system developing? Pretty cute, fragile kids that can't handle shit, can't handle change, that are sequestered and in a fucking bubble. And of course, parents are like, oh, look at my pretty kids. They're so beautiful. They're so this. But do you think they can handle change? No, because they've been sequestered. They're homogenized. And then we're also breeding hard fighting children because of the corporal punishment. And then we're also breeding the academic children, the programmers. The ones that you see that are like wearing the glasses and they're like the nerds, like the Bill Gates, okay, and the Steve Jobs. And then you have the saviors, the ones The Walking Dead was talking about all the time. The Walking Dead, the love antibodies. They're all into their politics. I'm going to save you from being a Democrat or being a Republican. I'm going to save you from communism. I'm going to save you from capitalism. I'm going to save you from Trump. I'm going to save you from Biden. I'm going to save you from everybody, right? Then you have the religions. I'm going to save you from whatever, from Satan. And anything else. I'm going to save you from the bad energy people. All right. Then you have the science. I'm going to save you from the virus. I'm going to save you from disease. I'm going to save you from all your trauma. And then you have all the health and wellness, the all healing world that want to save everyone from the trauma of disease and evolution. Oh, this is pretty rich here. Then you get the combinations of all the types. You get a pretty cute girl who's not fragile, but she's hard fighting, highly sexual, who might be a little bit smart, who wants to save everybody. So you can imagine the kind of programming just from experiences, and then my parents giving us the programming, because there was definitely programming going on. And then, of course, life. When everyone else is being trained in at least those 4 areas, it just depends on what you come upon and what's traumatized you at the moment in time. And so you may organically have your kid get a circumcision from the hospital system. They may not be hypersexual, but then a babysitter or somebody else gets a hold of that boy and grooms them for then hypersexuality. And or girls are being victimized at home or from people who are close to their home. And then that's where you get all the trauma, the sexuality, all the children. And then hard-fighting girls that want to kick everyone's ass. As well as men, too. But since I'm a woman, I have encountered many women who have to prove something. And also men. But some will use their religion to prove their toughness. And some will use their trauma of somebody doing something to them to prove their toughness. Oh, that's what I'm saying, you guys. Now that we're in a climate change, all the demons are coming to surface. People's traumas are coming to surface. That's why you have to be very careful out there in the community not to trigger somebody. Just to mind your own fucking business. And if you know this, this is the time to start releasing those demons. Because you know your kids, your friends, your family, they all have demons. It's not up to you to say you should release them. But I'm telling you, representation, being an example, speaks volumes. And so look at your Facebook. Look at all the programming on your Facebook. Just look at people. That's what I'm saying. I love Facebook because now I can see the programming. Now it's so clear as day. It's like, holy shit. And people can't hide behind their personas anymore. I know exactly what was traumatizing you. To what extent and how much was involved, well, that's for you to know. But the outcome, what you put on Facebook, what you believe in, everything that you put out there, you're seeing how that person was programmed. Maybe by their parents, by some groomer out there, or by their society, their specific society, homogenized environment. Because yes, you remember, Paris Hilton said that she was groomed. Well, of course. She went to that school where they did stuff to her, and then she was groomed by somebody else. That's why she's so fucking hot. That's why she was so sexual. Can you imagine the kind of trauma to her sexual parts to bring out that sex? That's what I'm saying. Those who have been traumatized sexually, they either go in the porn industry or they're so fucking gorgeous, but it only lasts so long. They try to hang on to it with all the plastic surgery. But yes, being extremely gorgeous in our society to the point of where, yeah, you can see why that person is always being pursued by those who are hot to trot, that want to procreate. Because that's exactly what they were groomed for, is to get people to have sexual feelings about them. Okay? And so you have to understand that was the whole Larry Flint and, Playboy, was about the grooming of the sexuality, the sexual revolution, and then bringing in all the drugs on top of that. And so you see how now messed up our society is. And then the extreme side is like a Charles Manson and all the rapists out there, and the guy, what's his face, Richard Ramirez. And he was shown images of what they did in Vietnam to some of the people. And that's what shaped him to be such a crazy serial killer, along with other stuff. I mean, oh wow, it goes so deep. It goes so fucking deep. And that's what people are dealing with. That's what's in your society. Those are the predators in your society that could be even 2 or 3 houses away from you, next door to you, that you have no idea, again, what evil lurks in the hearts of men and women. You have no idea what they went through. You have no idea anything. And they don't even know. They're just reacting. Just like those that are in the politics, religion, science world, and they have specific belief systems, and they're so hard charged about it, They're just reacting, but do they even know that they are artificial intelligence? They've been programmed? No. But that's the thing, is that's what it is you are artificial intelligence. You have been programmed through trauma-based programming. It's everywhere. And so now staying home and staying safe, I don't say wear a mask, is probably going to be the best bet in this society right now with how many people are coming unglued. And so physics can prove that there's more than just one truth. You can have facts and then a truth about how people see the facts. So you understand that, yeah, you can look at sex, love, and all this other stuff one way. Oh, it's about marriage. It's about opening up your heart and allowing people to come in and have a relationship. And that's all the freaking religious shit. Okay? And then you have another way of looking at it. That's a control mechanism. That's a way to control where you can start dropping babies, depend upon somebody else, never see the power within you because it's always given to somebody else. All the love, hate shit. Okay? So physics is just how you manifest the hormones. Truths are how you characterize the energy release of those hormones. And that's where all the religions and the politics and all the dogmatic sciences come from, is how you characterize the physics of being, of existentialism. And so context is an ever-evolving fact and truth. That's all the dictionary definitions with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 definitions. That's all context. Okay, so then I'm looking at the future. Like, there is a market for future in beating death from natural causes. But yeah, you must put in the time. So along with a lot of the jobs being phased out, there'll be other jobs in different sectors. And so you will have the mind and the focus to do it. Once you release those demons, you'll be able to do anything you fucking want. There'll be nothing stopping you. Like, absolutely nothing. You can go take a course, take the free courses and learn stuff, learn the base, the ground floor shit. And then when you think that there is an opportunity for you to learn something even on top of that and start building on that, then you pay for those courses. Okay? And then you start expanding your mind. And that's then you reprogramming yourself. But at this point right now, most society is programmed. And so life is a glutton for punishment. Punishment is all relative. All that programming, the trauma, then the swelling. And if you start swelling, then people do the opposite and withhold food. They starve. And so the swelling are the memories of the trauma. Look at those who did plastic surgery. So they swelled right afterwards. Then the magic takes hold, the swelling goes down, and then you see the person, the magic. And they'll be relatively cured for a certain amount of time. And you just kind of say, people say, oh, I can kind of see you did some work, and they'll hold it for a while until maybe 10, 15, 20 years later, the swelling returns. And so when the swelling goes down after a surgery, that's called being cured. But remember, cures don't last forever. The magic of Cinderella and the glass slipper and the Prince Charming and the ball only lasts until midnight. Or 20 years or less than that. 15 years relative to what kind of surgery you got. So then later on, the swelling returns. Everything will be as it was before. Because again, the body has to release the immune system. The immune system gets triggered and it releases different antibodies. Different types of chemical reactions releases. And so everywhere where you had the trauma of Botox, plastic surgery, or any other injuries that you were able to kind of keep under wraps for a certain amount of time, when the body starts deteriorating or this environment changes and the body wants to now finally trigger its immune system, you're going to feel pain and you're going to see swelling in the areas that had trauma to them. And that would also include other areas. If you were raped before, you might be hypersexual. Okay? And so that's the thing about trauma, is people are a glutton for punishment. And punishment is all relative. And then the cancer in the different areas return. Oh, that won't return, but the cancer in the different areas. The cancer in the different areas are where the body was most used. The most kinetic energy. And so when you think about those who are blood type A and B and they have so much energy conversion up here, they either get a diagnosable condition and go crazy because there's so much energy conversion, or they get a cancer, or they get other neurological diseases. Okay? And so your politics, your religion, your science, dogmas are based upon trauma around that area. When you have been traumatized around that area, whatever it is in politics, religion, and science, and your body, you will see that energy flow, the memories, the trauma, even the empathic love people. They have been traumatized, highly traumatized. Both love and the hate people have been highly traumatized because it's a coping mechanism to deal with the trauma that is deep within their soul. And the only way they can channel it is through their hormones called love and hate. Everything is emotional to people who have been traumatized. Just look at the children crying with no way to channel that energy. Then they become an adult who cries out for love, hate, and attention. And so you see those are always speaking in their platitudes and their love, and they're always doing this meditation yoga stuff. That's all trauma around the love hormone to cope with whatever they went through. Okay? Now you see the programming of our society. Circumcised men have the potential to be hypersexual. But then nature and nurture, of course, happens. Then, of course, all the images and societal constructs develop the rest. The highly sexualized girls have been traumatized. They turned into very sexual women. Look at Hollywood. When you've had the religion, the Bible, any version of it traumatize you, that is why people can't get away from religion. It was traumatized into them. So you see people like in Silicon Valley, a lot of them are computer programming, design, architects. That's all programmers. Yes, they've also had other shades of other trauma, like relationships, and stuff, like with the love and stuff. But mostly, when you're part of an engineering society like Silicon Valley, you're going to get mostly engineers coming out of that, developers. And then there'll be other parts of society that will be traumatized in certain ways, and the culture and the economics are all going to work towards that type of thing. But then you see Hollywood is then influencing people who aren't geared towards a specific groom for a specific job, like in Silicon Valley. Then you have someone like Paris Hilton, the Kardashians, that are grooming the girls that are somewhere in little small town America to be highly sexual and wear the pumps and the small dresses and talk the way they talk. And so then TV programs your children to be whatever. Okay? And so when you've had religion, the Bible, any version of it traumatize you, this is why people can't get away from religion, because it was traumatized in them. All right? So when you experience trauma, how that energy gets channeled is what develops a person. If no one is there to channel your energy into a specific direction, then there's chaos, then there's temper tantrums. Then something will trigger you and the people destroy. If you can't channel your energy in one specific area that is beneficial to society, then it is destruction. And I said again, look at all your politics, your religion, your dogmatic sciences. Now you see the trauma around everything, even in the conspiracy world. Because I was traumatized when I figured out there was another story by Alex Jones. I was so traumatized, I was messaging everyone going like, I'm going to get off of Facebook. Oh my God, everything is crazy. People are like, what the fuck? But that was what... And so look at all the alchemists out there who claim they can heal your childhood trauma as well as your current trauma. They're just capitalizing on your trauma. Because it's not something that you can externally go and have somebody take out, even spiritually. Releasing trauma is an individual venture. Because not only do you have to release that trauma, your body must also be built up and reconstructed to then replace that trauma with a balanced, substantial human being who is not working from trauma. Therapies take away food. Even those who do all the talk fucking shit. Because they'll tell you, well, what are you eating? Why are you feeling this way? Well, whenever I eat an apple, I feel bad. It brings up the trauma. Well, she's like, okay, then stay away from the apples. You know, that's the thing about those that are in the talk therapy stuff. What are they talking you into or out of, you know? So the key to surviving trauma is all food. If not, you're just replacing one addiction with another, and then you end up passing away. But it's not just food, it's intelligent release. And when you hire mercenaries They're just taking whatever they want and whatever they can away from you. And so when you've been traumatized, you will be looking for a savior. Someone you trust 100%. I've seen someone, and if they're watching this, they'll know I'm talking about them, and that's fine. I'm not going to call you out. But I've seen people post stuff on their Facebook about how Facebook or Meta is going to use all your information for whatever. For pictures, for marketing. They're going to say stuff or do stuff legally. I mean, it's all bullshit. Once you sign on to Facebook, you're basically whatever. They can do whatever they want with your pictures, whatever your stuff. So that's not legally binding, whatever you're writing on your Facebook. But someone says, well, or they're saying they're going to charge you for Facebook. And so someone says, well, they said that last year. It's not going to happen. Well, the person goes like, well, I got this from somebody named this person, and I trust her 100% implicitly without question. I got my information from a very credible source that this is what's going to happen, or this is what I should do to protect myself. And I'm just like, my jaw just dropped. She's like, she's trusting this person about that post message. That if she doesn't post this, then she'll be like exposed legally or something. And I'm like, whoa. So she looks to that person as a savior because that person somehow did the magic words of something's going to happen and I'm here to save you. I was tripping. Like, okay. And that's what religion does. That's what religion does, is you look for somebody that you want to put high up on a pedestal that will do no wrong. Okay? And you worship them above all, even at the detriment of your own self. And I know I came across that way with people that were next to me. That's why I released everyone next to me, because it became that type of thing where I needed to be the all-knowing person. I mean, there's people on my Facebook. I mean, I don't want people countering me on my Facebook. So if you don't agree with what I'm saying, stay it on your Facebook. And if I see it and whatever, I'll probably be like, yeah, you know what? Because I've seen stuff where I've said like, about loneliness, and someone else said, if in the future you don't have to be, you may not be lonely. I mean, if you're lonely, that means you have some shit going on. And they were right. Remember, I would go through my own bullshit. But they said it on their Facebook. They didn't go and counter me and say, well, why would you be lonely? Why would you need to go to a retirement home and live in a resort community with all the food and everything else? Because I was going through a release process. But that person was cool. They did it on their Facebook, and I read that. I'm like, oh, you know what? Okay, so I'm not like infallible. I'm not like a god. But let me tell you, when people are around you and they're next to you and they all want to work for you or work with you or whatever type of thing, you take on that characteristic if you are a leader. And so that was a type of relationship I didn't want to have. I don't want that kind of power, because then I want to convert you. And then if you don't convert the way I want you to be converted, then I get pissed, and that shouldn't be. And that's when I had to release everyone around me, because that's what you turn into. People will try to convert each other and do this and do that, and there's high expectations, and it's a mess. And so it's about individual. Okay, you don't want anyone worshiping you. You don't want to be worshiping anyone, because then that's where somebody can manipulate the fuck out of you on either end. Those that worship people and those that are being worshipped, they are getting manipulated by the people around them. And so that's where you have to then look to yourself and develop your ideas. And I'll tell you, I follow people follow me, and I'm just amazed by what they put out there. It's awesome. And they're amazed by what I put out there, and it's awesome. And we all just have something to contribute. We assimilate and we help each other see things and encourage each other to see things, but we don't worship, because we're not infallible. We're all human, and we all have blind spots. And sometimes when we are open enough, we can allow someone to put some light on the blind spots and then evolve. Okay? But when it comes to worshiping people, there is no evolution. It's just worship, and then you get manipulated. That's what religion is. That's what politics are. That's what scientific dogmas can be. Okay? And so when you have been traumatized, you be looking for a savior, someone you trust 100%, like with no question. You will fill them with so much love, worship, adoration. Again, you'll trust them 100% without question. They are so high up on the pedestal, they can't do no wrong. That's also known as offspring. You know, people worship their kids. They can't do no wrong. My kid can't do no wrong. People worship their children, their animals, even their friends and family. What's scary is people worship strangers on the internet. They watch every day traumatizing them with love and fear. And that person becomes their savior, the one that they trust the most over everyone else, even themselves. That's what's scary. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing as far as the J world. I can do it because I have the background, I have the wherewithal, I've built up my body, I've had the training, but not everybody can do what I'm doing. But if you're into worshiping someone, you'll try to do what I'm doing, and you may not have what it takes on so many levels. Not that you couldn't, but you may not have prepared to deal with what it, and then you end up having unexpected outcomes that you weren't prepared for, and then you'll get mad at me. But I'm telling you, not everybody can do what I'm doing. You have to really set yourself up correctly to do what I'm doing. Okay? And so don't worship strangers on the internet. You can listen to them and be like, yeah, that makes sense, and read more about what I'm doing to see if it's something that you have set up that you can do. But I'll tell you, don't trust anyone on the internet for face value. Don't ever trust. And listen to them, take the gems and figure out what they're doing, but don't just trust someone 100%. That's stupidity. And I'll be quite honest, you don't ever trust anyone 100%. You protect yourself and you figure out what works for you. But don't ever worship a stranger 100%, because that's what makes you ripe for manipulation. And so on top of that, then they're looking for a demon, a Satan, a vessel to put all their angst and blaming and hate into. That's the programming of politics, religion, and science. And so, yeah, when I came off as a savior because of the salt, and then all the religious folk were just all around me, then I became a demon to those who were like, holy shit, she thinks she's the next coming of Jesus Christ. She thinks she's the next cult leader. And that's why they called me a poop cult leader, because yeah, we were releasing demons, and it's in your poop. But in all reality, I had to get away from all of that worship. I didn't close down the group. The group is still there. It's not active. But if you happen to be popping off on my Facebook and you're in that group, I'll just release you from the group and from my world, and you can just go off and do your own thing. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much do not rule or moderate anything except for my own Facebook. If you don't agree with me, again, you can do it on your Facebook. But I moderate my own world, my own house. My house is my house. My Facebook is my Facebook. Even my business page I moderate, but that's it. There is abandoned Facebook accounts and business pages. You all can say whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. Because that's the old skin that I molted off last November. Okay? And so now you see the programming of society. So when I knew how to brainwash myself into insurance, it was a trauma of, oh my God, am I going to fail? And the angst all around it, the stress, that's a trauma that will then help you remember, but you do it to yourself. But people are not feeling anything because of the trauma in their world, or they're under so much drugs or something else, then they do the self-harm. They cut themselves. They do things that are horrible because they want to feel, because they've been so numb their whole life. And maybe they were born numb, not feeling anything, going around life with no feelings, no nothing. And so then they're suffering, looking to feel, and they do things to hurt themselves and hurt other people so they can feel, they can get that energy release. Even if it's from somebody else that they're messing with, they will go and take that energy. That's why you have to learn how, when people are messing with you purposely and they're seeking you out, or they're purposely saying stuff to your face that is like, holy shit. Yeah, they're looking to take your energy. That's when you have to put boundaries down, because they're siphoning your life force. Because they know you're going to get triggered and react and give away your energy to them. That's the manipulation of trauma. And so when people are highly traumatized out there, they're looking to take people's energy on so many levels. That's the whole energy management. And so I don't want to take your energy. I put out my energy to release and to give the world a different perspective on their suffering. So if they think they have what it takes to deal with releasing the demons and rebuilding themselves, then they can, this is a seed. But this whole point is not trying to save anyone out there that has been highly traumatized, because if you have been highly traumatized, go see a doctor. But there are different levels of trauma that people can deal with releasing and building up, and it's not going to be chaotic during that process. But like, again, when people are suffering from like schizophrenia or all these really aggressive diagnoses, yeah, you got to have a professional watch how you release those demons, because those demons could be destructive. Not only to the person, but also to their environment. Okay? And so that's why I'm not a doctor. I never claimed to be a doctor. That's why I don't give any medical advice. I'm just giving you the world that I live in about trauma. And I've had my own trauma, but it was all programming that actually has given me has given me the capacity to deal with the changes in our society, and to deal with people laughing at me, and to deal with people having issues with somebody developing another truth, another perspective that conflicts with everything they've ever were raised with or believe in, or even their own trauma. And I could deal with that. But those are the innovators in our society. That's like a Bill Gates. That's like anyone that's ever been laughed at because they had a new idea that people were just like, oh, that can never happen. Oh, that's stupid. Oh my God, look at her, look at him. Anyone that challenges the status quo is going to be laughed at, is going to be ostracized, even potentially excommunicated. But that's how evolution has to happen. Like I showed you the picture of the European Global Summit over there in Ukraine or Russia. I think it's Ukraine. The sisterhood over there. So yeah, they're going to be the influencers in that European society over there. Ukrainian women, Slovakian women. And then when society's ready to change, there'll be a divergent that will break it apart and they'll redevelop it again. But right now, we have what's going on is different sisterhoods out there, especially for climate change, global change, one world. And we have sisterhoods in politics, religion, and science. And, and I'm not one to be part of any sisterhood, because I'm not looking to conform to a queen bee or a king bee. I'll abide by the laws of my society as they will change, but I'm not looking to worship anyone. And so that's why I don't have a whole slew of friends, or a big, huge family, or be part of any large group or association, because that's expected, that you bow down to whoever that queen bee is, and they ain't gonna fucking happen. And I don't want to be anyone's queen bee either. I want to develop myself and do amazing shit for myself. And then say, hey, you guys could potentially do it too if you've been suffering under somebody else's regime. Time to escape that if you can. All right, that's all I'm going to say. Have a good day. Bye.